Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Julie here from StoryADay, and I'm recording this in March, and I'm deep in preparations for this year's 15th StoryADay May Challenge. The challenge started in 2010 because I was a frustrated writer who wasn't writing enough, and I knew that I respond well to big challenges. I didn't want to take part in NaNoWriMo because I just sensed that novels were too complex for how my brain worked, and I was going to get discouraged if I tried to start a novel and got lost in the middle. And anyway, I'd always loved short stories, and I was mad that there wasn't a similar challenge for short story writers. And after complaining about it for a number of years, I realised that if you're complaining that bitterly about something that nobody else has done, it's time for you to do something about it and stop complaining. So I did, and I decided that I would challenge myself to write a story a day for a month soon. And I came up with this idea probably in the end of February, early March, because I was taking my children to their doctor's appointments for their annual checkups around about their birthdays. And so it would have been either February or March, driving home on a dingy, grey day on a February March Pennsylvania day with the bare trees reaching up into the sky, no colour anywhere, and I felt desperate. My children were little. I had spent years trying to learn how to be a parent and not doing things that I was good at. I think I got pretty good at parts of parenting, but I had spent my whole life writing, and I had spent my whole life being intellectual and in my brain and thinking deep thoughts about humanity, and as writers tend to do. And I wasn't getting any of that. And even the crafting that I was doing to be creative, none of it felt true to who I was and who I wanted to be. And so I wanted to get back to writing, and I was spending a lot of time daydreaming because that is how my life is. But also that is something that you can do when you've got children running around who need you to be physically present, but don't actually need you to be mentally present all the time, because a lot of the time they're playing by themselves, or they're exploring things, or watching or playing with toys that don't require your active engagement. So there's a lot of time for thinking. And a lot of my thoughts strayed into hypotheticals. And I thought, if I'm spending all this time thinking about hypothetical situations, instead of getting outraged about political stuff I can't do anything about, or societal stuff I can't do anything about with these little rugrats nipping at my ankles, why not turn these ideas into stories that would make me feel better and bring back some of the confidence in who I am at my best, and also potentially have an impact on other people. If any of this is striking a chord with you, and it might not be in your case children who've pulled you away from the, say, 8 to 12-year-old version of you who used to love to spin stories, or the 16-year-old version of you who thought you were going to be a successful novelist, and then life got in the way. It might have been earning a living. It might have been caring for elderly parents. It might have been really loving the career that you were in. And if you've reached a stage where you are dissatisfied and you can't figure out why, and you always used to write, I'm going to suggest you turn your attention back to your writing. And so I decided on that cold, not quite spring day that I was going to write a story a day for a month, because I knew it was ridiculous and I knew it was a big challenge. And I also knew that if I started it, because I'd done some month-long challenges before, if I started it in the dark, it would wither in the dark. And I would get to day 15 max and I would drop out. So I made it public. And I had a bunch of online friends, and a bunch of them made it public among their friends. And I'm going to call out Debbie Ridpath O'Hare, who's the grand dame of the writing online community, and knew everyone and mentioned it to her network. And all of a sudden, a ton of people signed up for this challenge that I said that I was going to do myself. So that's how it all started in 2010. And I decided to make May Short Story Month because April was already Poetry Month. And I felt like I was eager to get going and get started. And the next full month that I could see doing it in would have been April. But I thought, the poets, the poor poets, they have so little. They get so little attention as it is. I'm not going to try and take anything away from them. And as it turned out, StoryADay May rhymed. So I gave no thought whatsoever to the fact that it's the end of the academic year for people who are in serious education. It's a busy time for parents. It's a busy time for teachers. I gave no thought to any of that and just declared May Short Story Month. I gave no thought to the fact that it's 31 days instead of the 28 or 29 we could have had if I'd thought about it in January and made it in February. However, it is also a wonderful month because everything is starting to change. We're in a season, whether you're in the north or the south of the planet, we're in a season where things are changing in a delightful way. In the northern hemisphere, we're getting nice weather and flowers and longer days. And in the southern hemisphere, you're hunkering down for winter, but with none of the downsides of winter yet. You get the nice weather, the autumn feel. So May is one of those months that's a really lovely month. And apart from the fact that people in academia are struggling with it a little bit. So StoryADay May has been running. This is the 15th StoryADay May that I will be shepherding across the finish line. If you are interested in joining us in this challenge, there are several things that's important to know. One is, most importantly, you make your own rules. You do not have to write and finish a story every day in May, as I suggest the more hardcore people do. The point is to make some rules before the challenge starts that feel scary, that will push you to do more than you have done any other month in living memory or in the last couple of years. And that may look like writing a story a week, which is still a phenomenal pace to be going at. The point of writing a story a day is really to undermine that voice in your head that says it needs to be good. Because as writers, we spend a lot of time writing versions of our stories that aren't perfect. It's a really important mindset to get comfortable with. We're not aiming for bad stories, but every time you work on a project, there is a point where nothing is written, or you're in the middle and you're stuck on a plot point, and it just feels bad, and it feels like you're never going to solve it, and you should just give up. And we spend a lot of time there. But the rewards of pushing through that and getting over that hump are immense, and they are psychological benefits to trying something hard. That's why people run marathons. That's why people do military boot camps. That's why we struggle with seemingly unsolvable equations. There's a benefit to the discipline of actually pursuing that, and you learn all the stuff you learn round about the edges of the actual pursuit. There's that moment where you solve a problem and you get over the hump and you go, I see now, and you see the road ahead and you're sprinting downhill, or you get that satisfaction of knowing that you did it, you finished it, you solved it, at least in a way that was workable. And then you get to come back and polish things up if you want to. But the point of the challenge, the StoryADay May challenge, is to help you get comfortable living in that space where nothing is perfect, where everything is unknown and hard and exciting. So writing a story every day and thinking about using the prompts gives you a way to lower the bar, de-emphasize the outcome, make the stories less important. I like to think about my StoryADay May stories as origami. Origami models are not meant for keeping forever. Some people do, and they lacquer them and they put them on the shelf, and they're missing part of the point of origami, which is that you spend time making a beautiful thing and it's disposable. I'm not saying all your stories in StoryADay May should be disposable. Some of them you're going to fall in love with and want to keep. But if you approach them with that origami sense of, this may be nothing. This may just be a story that exists for its own sake, for my sake, And that's okay, because we are here living in this world, and why not try and live as complete and satisfying a life as possible? Satisfying doesn't have to mean selfish, but taking a little time to do the thing which makes you feel more fully you is fuel for you. So the rules, you get to set your own rules. You do not have to write a story every day unless that sounds exciting to you, and you do not have to worry about catching up or streaks unless streaks are motivating for you. If you're the kind of person who loves to fill in boxes on a calendar and see every day complete, then go for it. Say that you're going to do every day. I am not. I'm the kind of person who feels like I'm in jail if that's the case. And I know I made up this challenge, but I feel in jail if I have to do something every day. Now, I can manage it for 31 days, so it doesn't feel so bad. But if now going in that you hate anything which tells you what to do and says you must do this, then make some rules for yourself that say things like, I get to take a day off every week. Or if I skip a day, I will never go back and work on that prompt. It is gone. I always recommend to people, actually, if you miss a day for reasons that can come up, life gets out of control, it gets to midnight and you're like, I haven't written my story and I really need to sleep. I always say to people, just let it go. Don't ever try and catch up, because the point is to get comfortable with imperfection. So keep pushing towards throughout the month. Whatever you decide your pace is going to be, stick with it for the full 5-ish weeks. It's 4 weeks and 3 days. So there are 5 themed weeks of the challenge. Stick with it. Do something every week, because the practice of coming back to your writing day after day, week after week, is also one of the gifts of the challenge. You don't have to post your stories anywhere. In fact, I encourage you not to post your stories anywhere. Some people really love to post their stories on a personal blog or on a social media platform. Understand that if you do that, it is published. And if you then later want to submit it to a market that doesn't accept previously published pieces, you will probably have wrecked that option for yourself. If you get joy from doing it, and if you want to post your stories like pieces of origami that you just post online and move on from, go for it. Do it on a personal platform. I don't provide a place at StoryADay for that, partly because I don't want to moderate all that stuff. I don't have time. And partly because I just think that it should be your control of your work should be in your hands at all times. If you want to post it somewhere public, make sure you can go back and delete it when you want to. And all joy to you, just understand that what you're doing in terms of rights, you're limiting your options for the future. Don't know that it matters. There's stories I've written which I'm thrilled to have online just hanging out. And there are stories I have which I want to submit places. You're a grown-up. Make your own decisions. One of the benefits of a challenge like StoryADay is that you get to do it in your own way. You get to do it in the way that makes sense for you. Whatever challenge you need is going to change over the years as you continue to pursue this writing journey. If you are just getting started, or if you are just coming back to writing for the first time in a long time, you mostly need encouragement, to give yourself permission. You need to find the fun in your writing. And so a challenge like this, which de-emphasizes quality and super-emphasizes quantity, gives you the opportunity to play. And that is, we need that at every stage of the journey, but very much at the beginning. You need to feel good about the fact that you're producing something. That you're every day you're going to write a sentence or two which you're like, oh, I like that. Some days are going to be harder than others. Some days you'll get stuck in the middle and you'll stumble towards the end of a story and you'll be like, wow. But then you have a voice in the back of your head that says, but you're coming back again tomorrow, so it doesn't matter that much. We're just playing here. There's different stages in the writing journey, and at different stages you want different things. Let me give you an example. Many people I know, and I heard this story again yesterday, when they start to take their writing seriously, they sign up for a class or a critique group or some kind of organization where they can go and they're hoping to get feedback and encouragement and some validation that they're not crazy for thinking that they could be a writer and that writing's important to them. What they find is a group of people who are at a different stage in their journey. They may accidentally join a group which is mostly geared at people who are trying to get published. And that assumes a certain level of practice, of sophistication, understanding the market and the business of the publishing industry, none of which you need to know to be a writer. If you want to get published, eventually you may want to learn about those things. But at the very beginning, what you really need when you're just coming back to your writing, you need encouragement. You need a group that's going to cheer you on for writing at all, who understands how important that is, who gets excited by your excitement that you're coming back. You don't need a group who's going to tear apart your actual writing, which is probably a little rusty and maybe a little unsophisticated in terms of modern tastes for literary whatever. But if you can find a group of people, and I would submit that there is this at StoryADay, during the challenge, if you post in the comments and you're like, I wrote a story today, people are going to leap in and go, fantastic, good for you. And by posting that in the comments at storyaday.org, you are going to encourage other people who are feeling a little flat. They're going to be like, oh, yeah, I want that. I want that excitement. And those people can be anywhere on the journey, from just coming back to writing to absolutely out there pursuing publication or struggling with their 4th book contract project, and just seeing your enthusiasm for, oh my goodness, I sat down and wrote today, I feel so good, can really help every other writer. So if you're taking part in the challenge, please do make a point of checking in the comments every day and letting people know how it feels to finish your story, or letting people know, didn't go that great today, but I am coming back tomorrow. And then other people will be able to say, oh, good for you, and cheer you on. As you go through your writing journey, there will come a point where you don't want that anymore. You don't want people just to say, yay, good for you, you wrote. Now, nothing wrong with that. You absolutely need it. We all need it from time to time. We certainly need it at the beginning of the journey when we come back. Firmly believe that's the most important support you can get at the beginning of your fledgling journey back to writing. As it becomes a habit for you to write more, you are going to start to get impatient with people who are just like, yay, you wrote, that's a great story, I loved everything about it. So at some point, you're going to want people to say, cool, liked your story, what did you mean here? And I'm not quite sure what this bit means, and have you thought about? And that's the point at which you probably want to be in a group like the StoryADay Superstars, where we do critiques, and you have this supportive group of people who are thinking hard about story and who take it for granted that you're a good writer and that you're a good writer, you're a competent writer at the very least, and you're looking for ways to improve to the next level. And then as you start getting even past that stage where you're looking for publication, or you're actually being published and you're looking to just really increase your skills in the marketplace, you're going to get even more impatient with just that kind of feedback. And you're going to give work to people and you're going to say, don't tell me what you like about it, or at least tell me what's not working. Now, as a writer at that stage, it's always really nice to hear, this bit was great, this bit made me laugh, don't cut this out when you revise, because sometimes we don't see that stuff. But there's a point at which you will have moved so far that you don't need people to cheer you on for writing. It's just a given, it's part of your life. You don't need people to remind you that, yeah, you did write some good stuff in here. You get a little impatient with that and you're like, just tell me the bits that aren't working. What am I missing? And so there's a whole journey that every writer goes on. And at every level, we need a little bit of support from other writers, but it changes over time. So it's very important as you embark on any writing challenge to think about the kind of support that you need. For some people, just the fact that there is a Story a Day May challenge is going to make them write more stories in May. They don't need to come to the site. They don't need to post in the comments. This is their personal challenge. They're going to do it regardless. For some of us, we need to come and look at the prompts because our ideas, our brains just get a little tired, and a writing prompt can catapult us into the day's writing. Even if we leave the prompt far behind and we wander off and do something completely different, for some of us, a daily writing prompt during a challenge, this is a really useful thing. If that's you, sign up. Hit the link in the show notes. If you're on your phone, scroll down, open up your podcast app, scroll down, click on the little eye, go in there, click on the link to sign up so that I send you emails during the challenge. If you're already on my mailing list, I won't necessarily send you daily emails during the challenge because I don't want, not everybody wants that. So you do need to sign up as a participant. It's free, but you get to sign up as a participant in the challenge, and then I will send you emails every day. Some people really like the accountability of coming and checking in the comments every day and saying, I wrote today, doing what I call your victory dance, coming and checking in the comments, reading other people's comments, giving them a little feedback. This is how we used to do it, folks, in the days before there were actual social media platforms like Instagram and TikTok and Xter and all of those kinds of things. You just talk to each other in blog comments, and it's a really nice little community that we have here at Story a Day. And if you get a little conversation going, a lot of people have made friends here in the Story a Day challenge that have lasted 15 years and will last into the future. As a rundown for this upcoming 15th Story a Day May challenge, here are the rules. Write and complete a story on as many days of the challenge that you decide to participate. Make your decision before the challenge starts. You do not have to write every single day in May if that is not going to fill you with joy. If it's going to inspire you to keep going and do the challenge, to do it 100%, then yes, commit to doing 31 stories in 31 days. They do not have to be good stories. Do try and finish them. They just have to be something that has some kind of narrative attempt, some kind of thought process that went into it and are recorded somewhere in some kind of medium. You do not have to post them at the Story a Day May site. In fact, I discourage that because I want this to be a sandbox, a safe place for you to play. And if you are worrying about getting them into a decent shape to show other people, that is going to slow you down. This is for experiments. This is for playing. You do need to sign up at storyaday.org/sign up if you want me to send you the daily emails linking you to the prompts. I am writing all the prompts this year. Some years I get a lot of guest writers to come and give us prompts. That's always super fun and really interesting to have a look inside other writers' brains. But in the early days, I used to write them all myself. And I am going back to that this year in this 15th anniversary year to tie it all together. And I'm going to bring everything that I've learned over those 15 years of prompting people, of coaching writers, of writing myself, of putting together courses and workshops, and everything that I've learned about helping people to build a writing practice that becomes part of their life. Week 1 is going to be about getting to your desk every day. So the prompts are going to be short, a little more prescriptive. They're not going to encourage you to try and write that 4,000 word New Yorker story that's going to make your fortune and fame. They're going to be about getting you to your desk, getting you a quick win every day in the first week that makes you want to come back to your desk the next day. Weeks 2 and 3, we can get into some more craft-based prompts. So every prompt I give you will have a topic that you can steal, or a way of going and finding some inspiration for the subject of your story. But we're also going to focus each of those days on something that is to do with the craft of writing short stories. There will never be a prompt there which is write a scene or imagine that you are in a room where, it's never going to be personal essay stuff. It's never going to be a scene from your novel. That said, if you want to use the structure of this challenge to do something completely unrelated to the prompts that I give you. If you want to write a personal story every day, great, go for it. Totally support that. If you want to write backstory for the characters in your novel and you want to make a concerted effort to sit down and work on that every single day for a month, great. Come and use the challenge for that. Check in, see if our prompt inspires anything for you. Check in after you've written in the comments and let us know that you did the thing that you committed to doing. I know somebody who used the structure of the StoryADay May challenge to come up with 31 ideas for picture books. I know people who've used it for poetry, for elements from their memoirs. So you can use the structure of the challenge any way you want to. I will be writing prompts that are aimed at short story writers and that are going to help you think about all of the things that you need to think about as a short story writer, from getting to your desk, to staying there, to coming back tomorrow, to elements of the story writing craft. We'll talk about different forms of short stories. One of the things I love about short stories is that they are not mini novels. They don't have to be structured like a traditional story. You can do wild and wonderful things with short stories, and that will be part of the journey I take you on as we go through the prompts this year. And then week 4 is usually what I call rescue week, because by then you're getting tired, but you want to keep going. So I've got lots of tricks up my sleeve about how to keep you writing even when you're tired and not feeling as creative as you were in maybe weeks 1 and 2. There are lots of things I've learned over the years that can help writers to come back and get quickly into a story and complete it, that will keep you writing and give you the real sense that you can do this. You can do this hard challenge of writing over 4.5 weeks, however often you're committing to writing. If you're writing 3 days a week, if you're writing 1 story a week, if you're writing every day of the challenge. And the final 3 days are just a celebration, and I'm not quite sure what the prompts will look like that week, but I'm going to put some fun stuff in there for you. And I have been doing this long enough that I can say with confidence, if you're still around at the end of May, we're going to have some fun. I'm also planning to have a big celebratory party on the last day of the challenge. Again, not quite sure what that's going to look like, but it's really important to put a cap on the end of a big challenge like that. And it's something that I failed to do in the past, because running the challenge and writing myself is exhausting. So I'm planning ahead for a post StoryADay May challenge party where you can just come and celebrate and share what you've learned. And there's a lot of power in taking a moment after a big challenge to really look at what you achieved, what you learned, what other people have taught you. And I've always sent out, for the past few years at least, I've sent out a debrief form that you can fill in personally. And I think I'm going to come up with a way for the community to do that in a more sociable, probably Zoom-based way. So stay tuned for that. It's something that the kind of thing that we do in the StoryADay Superstars group, which is this fantastic community that's built up over the past 5 or 6 years of writers who are committed to pursuing this writing thing and doing it in community. We have hangouts and writing sprints and workshops and things. It's not, I don't think, overwhelming to anyone in terms of things you need to turn up for. There's nothing you need to turn up for. But if you ever want to hang out with some other writers, there's plenty of opportunities to do that and share information and learn from other people's experience. And I will be opening that group up again soon. So if you've been looking for a writing community that is committed to helping you fit writing into your life, not in some theoretical way, not in some idealistic way where you can retreat to a cabin in the woods and nobody interrupts you, but in all the messiness of life that we live, in the I've got 4 children under the age of 7 way, in the I'm looking after my parents and my children and holding down a full-time job and I just need some time for myself kind of way, or the I've retired now and I wanted to write and I don't know how to do it because I haven't built that muscle way. There are so many different ways to be a writer, and being among a group of people where you can see that playing out every day is immensely exciting. And it's a very welcoming group. But we have room for a few more people. And I think it's time for me to really make the case to you that if you aren't in a group like this, the StoryADay Superstars group may be the thing that holds you accountable to your dreams. And if you are straying, if you are letting yourself down, that's a horrible place to be. That's an uncomfortable, horrible, disappointing place to be. And you may think that it says something about you, that you're a failure, or that you can't, why can't I do these things? Everybody struggles with this, and nobody really does this stuff alone. There's an image out there that people are self-made men and building themselves up. Scratch the surface. Every successful person is doing it with support. And success is entirely defined by you. Whether success looks like actually doing some writing every week or getting a story published. You get to define that. But doing it on your own it's painful, because every self-doubt, and we have active imaginations, we are writers, every self-doubt gets magnified and given legitimacy because we're smart and we can do that. Whereas when you're in a group of other people who are going through the same things, it's very easy for somebody else to see and say when you are being too hard on yourself. And if you're stuck on a plot problem, a question from another writer could be the thing that unlocks everything for you. That happened to me earlier last year when I was stuck on a plot point, and a friend asked me a very simple question. And I went, "Oh, you're absolutely right." And it unlocked a writing block that had been sitting in my head for a while. And I'm just going to say, if you're trying to do this on your own, stop it. Really, stop it. Come and join us. I'll be opening up the StoryADay Superstars group again in April, and I'll invite you to watch out for that, because it's having a gang to hang out with it just makes all the difference. And I'm worried that if you haven't taken that step yet, you're going to be sitting there telling yourself that you're not meant to be a writer. And that's simply not true. It's hard, but it's harder if you're trying to do it alone. And I do not want you to regret anything. That's what's coming up. StoryADay May 15th Challenge is coming up May 2024. I talked about how different writers need different types of support at different stages of their journey. So please do not feel like if you took a course once, or if you had a mean teacher once who just redlined your entire page, that means anything about the quality of your writing. What it probably means is that you were in a group that was thinking about their own needs and not about yours. You may have needed different things because you were at a different stage from that group. If you feel the pull to write, please write, and sign up for StoryADay May 2024 at storyaday.org/sign up, and send your friends as well. There's nothing quite like going through a challenge like this with a bunch of friends. Sometimes your own friends will flake, and that is why a group of relative strangers can be much more motivating, which is why StoryADay exists in the form that it's there. But also having writing buddies from you, if you have writing buddies in your life, or even people who aren't writers but just fancy a challenge, get them to sign up too. Why not? You all write some fun stuff, have some fun together, and celebrate at the end. All right, that's it for this week. I'll be back next week with more on writing and the writing life. If you have questions, especially about the challenge, but about writing in general, please send them to me. Hopefully, I will see you in the comments or in the Superstars group in May. Have a great writing week, and most of all, keep writing.